Hi guys, and welcome back to From Scratch to Orchestra. Last time we laid the basics of music theory. We learned more than half of the notes that exist in Western European music, as well as some essential vocabulary. But there's a thing that we didn't talk about. Black keys on the keyboard. Those keys are a bit different than the white keys. They have names, but not defined ones, and they will help us understanding things called accidentals. So stay focused, and you'll see it's not as complicated as it seems. I hope you guys will enjoy this video. So as I said, last time we focused on the learning of the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G through the understanding of the C major and A minor scales. I also told you that no matter what note you start your scale with, if you follow either the major or minor pattern, you constructed yourself a perfectly valid scale. But what if you want to play an E major scale, for instance? You suddenly find yourself with notes situated in between the white keys, not knowing how to properly name them. This is where sharps and flats are useful. In music, there's a lot of symbols. They are here to convey instructions. Among those symbols is the sharp and the flat. The instructions of those symbols are extremely simple. The sharp tells you to raise the pitch a semitone, while the flat tells you to lower the pitch a half step. These changes concerning the pitch of the notes are called accidentals. That's it. If you understand that, it means you understood flats and sharps. But you might tell yourself, what's the matter with black key then? Well, a black key doesn't really have a name. You must see it as a space in between two notes that you can feel differently depending on the context. If you have, for example, a G, but you want it to be a bit higher, but not as high as an A, it means you want it to be a half step higher than a regular G. Then your G becomes a G sharp. But what if we find ourselves in the opposite situation? You want your A to be a semitone lower than a regular A. Then your A becomes an A flat, while sounding exactly like a G sharp. Like that, you can see a single note can have different names. This situation is rather common with black keys, but can as well be encountered with white keys. Indeed, as you know now, between B and C and between E and F, there's only a half step. So you can find yourself in situations where you see things like B sharp or F flat instead of just C and E. It can be weird, but that's totally correct. You have to keep in mind that it's just kind of a nickname for C and E, and that notes don't actually change. But that's rather strange, isn't it? Why use such a fancy name like F-flat when we could simply say E with the same result? To explain that, we must go back to the rules to construct a regular scale, focusing on the first rule. A scale must be composed of 8 notes, among which 7 must be different. What is important here is the word different. It means you cannot have a scale where a letter appears twice, if it's not the tonic. For example, with the G major scale, using the pattern you learned during the first episode, you can determine that it goes like G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Here everything is correct. Every letter appears once except for the G, the tonic, that starts and ends the scale. It will sound exactly the same if those notes were written like G, A, C flat, C, D, F flat, G flat, G. But here, there's 2 times the letter C, and 3 times the letter G, plus the letters B and E are not within the scale anymore, so the notation is not correct. Moreover, you can easily see that it makes the scale look complicated and messy. It's exactly like homophones. If you say, I ate cereal this morning, and I ate cereal this morning, it sounds the same. But with the second one, the spelling is wrong, and it doesn't make any sense. In music, that's exactly the same, but we call that enharmonic spelling. When 2 notes have the same pitch but not the same name, we say that they are enharmonic equivalent. And to avoid to have weird spellings in scales because of enharmonic equivalencies, we use the 1 letter per scale rule. This rule is here to help us out to make everything simple and clear. In music theory, everything is here to simplify your learning. But what if you want to cancel the effect of those accidentals? Another symbol exists, and it's called natural. It cancels the effect of any accidental applied to a note. But we will focus on the details of naturals in another episode. For now, just know that it exists. Then, there are 2 more accidentals you need to heard of, but those are rather rare. They are called double flat and double sharp. As their name suggests, they double the effect of the sharp or the flat, so they raise or lower the pitch a whole step, making things a bit more confusing, because using those accidentals, an F double flat equals an E flat equals a D sharp, But as I said, those two are not very common, so keep in mind that they exist and that they raise or lower the pitch by a whole step. We can take another example to highlight the usefulness of enharmonic spellings, this time using the strange F double sharp, E sharp, B sharp notations. If we study the case of the G sharp major scale, you begin your major scale with G sharp, then apply the major pattern. So G sharp, A sharp, then C. But you can see that we skipped the B, and that's not good. We want all the 7 notes to appear within the scale. So then you have to use the enharmonic equivalent of C that uses the letter B, which is B sharp. Then it gives you G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, F. But here again, we don't want to skip the E, so the F becomes E sharp, then G and G sharp. And once again, we skip the note, and the letter G appears more than twice. To solve this problem, we have to use the enharmonic equivalent of G that uses an F, which is F double sharp. And then you got a perfectly valid G sharp major scale where the use of strange enharmonic equivalencies is essential. In reality, you will probably never encounter this scale. It has way too many sharps plus a double sharp, which is quite tedious to read. Any composer will rather use its enharmonic equivalent, which is the A flat major scale, that goes as A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, which sounds exactly like the G sharp major scale because it uses exactly the same notes, but this time it's easy to notice that it's way more convenient and pleasing to read. Scales have links to each others. Some are enharmonic equivalent of others, some others got the same number of sharps or flats, but do not share the same adjective. And by knowing that, you'll realize how everything in music is intrinsically linked, and that will ease your learning and change your understanding of music theory. But this will be the topic of a later episode. To sum up, all you have to remember is that sharps raise the pitch a semitone and flats lower the pitch a half step. By knowing that and by using the 1 letter per scale rule, plus the use of enharmonic spelling, you're now able to name every single note in Western European music, as well as to construct any regular major and minor scale possible. Next time we'll begin the big chapter, note reading. So stay tuned and subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and see you next time.